For those of you. And then there are the technical issues. We are doing it via Zoom and they are recording. We'll see how that all goes. For those of you who don't know, I used to work here at the library and retired 11 years ago now. Hard to believe. And this is Sallie Calliandri, town historian, president of the Historical Society, and she just knows everything. It oozes out of her.
I've learned a lot, let's put it that way.
Tonight we're doing schools. Would you believe there are 30 buildings that have been schools here in town? And we'll be talking about the people that some of the schools are named after. And as always, please add to our talk. I want to hear what you have to say too. And correct me, because I do make mistakes. I'm honest. I would rather be accurate in the long run than to continue a mistake. So feel free to chime in. And I guess we're ready for our first slide. Yeah, I'm in between. Glasses or no glasses. All right, kind of begins with the Gutenberg Bible, if you can imagine. It was printed in the 1450s, and it was the first book published in a printing press. And that technology kind of led to the social change with Martin Luther coming up with the Reformations in 1517, which leads us to the Puritans and the Mayflower and coming over to America. Next.
Okay. Where are we here? Okay. Now, the Puritans placed a high value in, they believed that all people, including children, should be able to read and understand the Bible for themselves. So this led to an increase in overall literacy.
And the beginning of public education.
Right. Okay.
This one's really yours, because you discovered this.
It was a law, yeah. In 1650, the Connecticut General Assembly passed a law that stated that children should be taught English, catechism, knowledge of the law, and this really was the beginning of public education. Anything more than 50, any town with more than 50 households must have a school. And a lot of them started out as like private in-home schools, especially when you were dealing with small children. We're
coming to that.
Okay. All right. And
so in 1718, there was a town meeting on December 1st where Ebenezer Gilbert reported the society being so very scattered in distance, and our ways, which means our roads, were very difficult for small children to pass to a general school for the society a great part of the year. We, the subscribers' advice is that the society be divided into 5 parts or squadrums for the more convenient schooling of the children. So the 5 squadrums were.
Okay, here we are. Okay, we have south of the river, including the Middletown neighbors. Okay, you got to remember that Berlin, before it was incorporated, was taken from Farmington, Middletown, and Wethersfield, basically, with a little bit from Wallingford as well. So, but even in the early 1700s, Middletown, a good chunk of Middletown, Western Middletown, was really integrating into Berlin. Okay, another squadron involved parts of Beckley Quarter, which was part of Wethersfield, and that all from the Betsitz River, which is Mattabasset, Gilbert's River, which would nowadays be Willowbrook around Christian Lane, northward to be another. You got to remember that early Berlin included New Britain as well. So a fourth squadron, Deacon Judd and John Woodruff, and I think that might have been in New Britain, and I'm not sure. And the rest of the society north to be another part. So that was like the first division.
Of many.
Yeah.
It quickly became evident, though, that one teacher shared among the 5 squadrons was not adequate, and they had to hire a teacher for each district. Schools, of course, were one room, one teacher for 20 to 40 students. They had desks or benches, wood or a coal stove, depending on the time period, and outside latrines, remember. This is all before plumbing.
Right, and that continued even into the 20th century. So, okay. In 1717, what eventually became the 6th district was the first school in Berlin proper, also known as the Bandbox School. Anybody know where that is? Okay, all right. The building is still there. It's the corner of Christian Lane and Ripple Court. The first building was around the entrance ramp to Route 9 northbound. And that building burned in 1844 and it was rebuilt. The current building was rebuilt in 1845. And we'll go into some of its later history later.
I looked up bandbox, and besides being a box for hats and that kind of thing, according to the dictionary.com, it means an area or structure smaller in dimension than the standard. What can we say?
It's a little tiny. Yeah, I think the next one shows that.
In 1907, there was a newspaper article which listed the teachers. So you'll see reference of that throughout the presentation. And in 1910, there was a total of 24 students. And that's when KGS opened up and the school closed. It closed officially in 1910, but then it reopened sort of by 1920 or so, and then closed again in the 1930s. We're not sure what's going on there now. The building seems vacant and there's some kind of commercial activity, inches from the building. So we're not quite sure what's going on there. In 1838, Kensington had 190 children in their census, and Worthington had 321 children. The number of districts, as we said, varied. In 1841, there were 3 districts. We had 5 squadrons. Now we've got 3 districts. And the next year, they added the center district, which would have been Worthington Ridge area.
In 1856, school societies were abolished by state law. Every district was independent. They had their own boards of like 6 members for a 3-year term, and they had like their own school visitor, which was kind of like the school superintendent or principal in charge. And they were responsible for things like making sure there was wood for the stove.
And hiring the teachers.
And hiring the teachers. And they would check in to make sure that everything was proper. And all that. So in 1858, there were 9 districts. District 1 was the Northwest District, which was West Lane and then later Pond School. The second district was the Northeast or Ledge School. The third one's center was Stockings Corner. The 4th district was Blue Hills. The 5th was the middle or center, which I think that was around Worthington Ridge, I think.
Yeah.
6th, North Northwest Bandbox School.
I know, it was confusing.
Crazy, crazy. Northeast Selden School, which is behind Home Depot. Eighth was South School, which is near the Berlin Volunteer Fire Department. And southeast was Mill Street. It was also known as School in the Woods. So
So the first district was West Lane, corner of West Lane and High Road. There was a school there as early as 1829, but this building was built in 1885 and it closed in 1910 when Kensington Grammar School opened up. I'm going to say KGS most of the time, so that's what it stands for. And this is a neat Christmas card, I guess, that somebody had with a picture of the school. In 1839, there was a tax of 1 penny to build the school. The trustees were Roswell Moore, Sheldon Moore, Benjamin Allen, Albert Dunham, Seth Hooker, Friend Street, and Ashbel Hooker. Some familiar last names for us. And this is cool. I like this picture.
yeah, this is a popular one. So. Okay.
And we can click on to the next.
Yeah. Now the building still stands.
Oh, we'll get that in a minute. And then the 1907 and 1910 teachers. And 1910, they had 42 students in that one building.
Yeah.
And yep. And there we are today. It's a private residence.
We do have an oral history of Loretta Alling, who lived to be like 104, I think. She passed away. Oh Lordy, I can't even think.
In my lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking maybe in the 90s or something, but she went to West Lane School and her father was the school visitor at the time. So he was in charge of getting everything, keeping everything copacetic. So, all right, where are we here?
Up to pond.
Okay, at one point, West Lane School became seriously overcrowded so that they opened another one, Pond School, which some of us remember as the old red and white store.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I got
know.
pics. Or Nancy gave me pics.
Yeah. It was opened in the 1870s and to address the overflow, and it closed in 1910 also when they opened KGS. So, and as I said, it became in the 1950s, it was great. It was a great place to get popsicles.
Next picture. Next one. Next, yep. And there's your red and white school.
Yeah.
Store.
That's the red and white in East Berlin.
Right, the one on
The
the
left,
left, the one on the
yeah.
left is in East Berlin.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know there were two.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry.
Oops.
You must have put that in my note. There was a red and white store in East Berlin also.
Yeah.
Never mind. Ignore that left picture. Keep correcting me. Keep me honest. All right. And then it was a hair salon, correct? All right. And then today, I think it's a private residence from what I could see.
Okay, a lot of people have memories of Ledge School. This building, the current building is the third one on the same site. The first one was built somewhere around 1790.
Yeah.
And that was torn down. I don't know why. But a brick building was erected, and then this third building has been around since around 1840, 1850. The I think this was on land from Jabez Coles, who owned a lot of land in the area. He was a Revolutionary War veteran. They closed the building in 1910 when KGS opened. They had to reopen it in 1920 because of all of the new kids coming in. After World War I, there you had a huge influx of immigrants coming in. One of many waves that we had. And it stayed open until June of 1956.
Where is the site? It's right down.
It's right down there, right
At the
down.
corner of this, our driveway and Kensington Road. It's
Right.
where the playground is now.
Right.
Yeah, okay, not, yes.
Yeah, it badly needs a paint job.
So I just wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
Click to the next one.
yeah, badly needs a paint job. And yeah, I think my mom went there for 1 year. My sister went for 3. My husband went for 3.
Wow.
So, and we have the names of some of the teachers.
And in 1910, there were 63 students in 2 classrooms. And then we have a couple of school pictures through the years.
Right. You might recognize some people. This one, yeah, my sister-in-law is in there. And this would have, and now's what it looks like when the paint job was new. It's for a long time housed the Berlin Art League after the building closed, and now it's home to the Kensington Garden Club. I think they use it mainly for storage, but anyway.
You want to do Stockings Corner?
Sure. The 3rd district, South District, also known as Stockings Corner. It's on the corner of Chamberlain Highway and Southington Road, okay? And it was built somewhere around 1840. And again, it closed in 1910 when KGS opened. Stockings Brook is nearby, and it's probably named for the Stockings family. Luther Stocking, I believe, lived in the area. And his son Luther Jr. also lived in the area. I think they're both buried in South Burying Ground. So that's probably where the name came from.
Also known as the Blue Hills Cemetery. Because of
Right.
course we can't have a cemetery with just one name.
Scotty? Yeah.
I always remember that house,
Yes.
as it was owned by the gentleman who ran the florist in Hubbard.
Oh, really? Oh, that's neat. That is cool. That brings back some memories. Yeah. Okay, we've got oh yeah, this is one of our favorite pictures.
And there's the second one too.
Wish we could name, I wish we could name some of those kids, but that's that.
And
then we have another picture of what it looks like today. So.
Has big rocks around the curb, so nobody.
That's smart. They probably learned the hard way. Okay. And another school in the area is Blue Hills School. And this is on the corner of Orchard Road and Chamberlain Highway. It's the northeast corner. And this is, I'm not quite sure when it was built, but it's listed on an 1855 map as it being a school. So it's been around for a long time, and it was a school until 1924.
yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
That first photo really looks old in that one. We have more up-to-date pictures of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And,
And there it is today,
Right.
as a private house.
right. Early in the 1920s, there were a lot of newspaper articles about the building, the school being so overcrowded, so that finally in 1924 they built a new building a little further south, and that one, if it looks a little bit familiar, it looked like this up until I'm not quite
Couple of
sure.
slides,
Yeah, until like the early 60s.
yeah, but we've got a
And,
couple of slides first.
okay, yeah, let's go through those. Yeah.
That's my picture.
And,
You recognize?
That's my picture.
Ah.
cool, okay.
I know every one of them and everyone is dead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
I like this one.
Yeah, this is neat, yeah. Um,
And then the next one.
Understanding
This is the familiar one now.
is that school was used for industrial arts.
but it was, yeah. I know my sister went there for 6th grade. And that would have been, let's see, if she was 12, that would have been like 1955, 56, somewhere in that area. So, but I know Pete Garrison and I have gone back and forth, and it's like, I know she went there in 6th grade, you know. She had Mrs. Smart for a teacher. And anyway, it was converted in 1962 to the South Kensington Fire Department. And it's the only, I believe it's the only town-owned fire department building in town. The rest of them, I think, are owned by the volunteer fire departments themselves. So, but this has always been in town hands. Go ahead.
All right, the 5th district, Center School, possibly located at the corner of Worthington Ridge and School Street on the map. This is one of the ones where we don't have a photo of anything. No kids, no buildings, no nothing. We do know that in 1799 they voted to repair it. And in 1800 they disposed of the old one and built a new one on the same spot. Where? Good question. What? Who knows? We got to have a little mystery in our life. Do you know?
Well, no,
Oh,
no, that big, I think it's painted yellow now on Worthington Ridge.
Right.
there.
Mhm.
I was told by my aunt, that, because she supposedly went there,
Mhm.
that was Worthington School.
Yeah,
We'll get
get
there.
Oh, okay.
Worthington Ridge has a lot of schools,
Right.
more than any other stretch of road. Is it a mile, Lorraine? 2 miles?
It's about 2
Well, the historic district is a little over a mile.
Yeah, it's amazing how many schools were crammed in that space over the years, never simultaneously, mind you. Never consistently going from one to the other. No, just pop up, pop out.
Right.
Anyway, so much for Center School.
Do you think that building might have been where the doctor's office is now?
The other side.
I
of the
think it was
street.
the other side
Yeah.
of School Street,
Yeah,
yeah.
almost directly across from the meeting house.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a big old house right there.
Yeah, that's from
That
about
was built
1900
later.
or so.
Not old enough. All right, Selden School. Did anyone ever go there? Okay.
For like rec.
Oh, yeah, but I meant for school, but okay, for other purposes? Okay.
Yeah, I know we had some classmates, I think, that went to Selden, because it was open. I started school in 1953. So I think, I had some classmates that I think might have gone there.
Selden actually replaced a smaller school on Deming Road that was sold and then demolished. But it's an interesting story about Selden. I think, yeah. What picture do I? Olive and Simeon Selden. Simeon Selden was born in 1784 in Middle Haddam, and he married Olive Webster of Wethersfield. And they moved to town here in East Berlin. They had 4 children, and sadly, Olive outlived all her children and her husband. And interesting enough, Simeon and 2 of the kids are buried in Haddam, and Olive and 2 of the children are buried in Beckley Cemetery. She was a wealthy widow, and at her death, she left 9,500 to the Berlin School District. In 1895, the money was used to build the Selden School. It closed in 1975, and I believe the account is still used for special activities at Hubbard School. I believe there's still a Selden fund, which is an amazing gift if you think about it. And then we do have a couple of school pictures. I think there's 2 of them. And the next shot actually shows a floor plan for the building, which is kind of cool. And the inside of it. And then what it looks like today. And it's a private residence. There was something about a bell being used in the East Berlin church. Anybody know anything about that? Still a mystery. Okay. Hope springs eternal. All right.
Okay. Now the 8th district, South School was on the Berlin Turnpike. It was like across from the Wonder Bar, that area, and near Berlin, near Berlin, yeah,
Fire.
near Berlin Fire Department.
It's right, it's that road,
Bishop's Curve.
Bishop's Curve,
Okay.
wasn't there then. It's right between the mosque and is it miniature golf
Subway.
there or Subway? Yeah. Cause I have old pictures, class pictures with them in the background and you can see the buildings, depending upon where the kids were lined up.
Right.
But that school was down.
Yes,
Right.
we're coming to that.
Yeah.
I never saw it.
Yeah, that burned down. I think it was 1939.
Correct. Next slide.
And
I think I've got a picture of it.
yeah, I'm sure.
That's okay. Oh, the teachers. On, next one. It's a newspaper photo, so it's difficult to see, although you kind of see a roof line. And I think there's 3 or 4 firemen in the front there. And it was a total loss.
And it was right around that time that they decided that school buildings should not be made of wood. They, smart move. So now anytime you see a school building, it's usually brick or some sort of non-combustible material. So
And the next picture shows us our guesstimate of the location of it, adjacent to
So
the
I
fire,
South of
a
there.
little bit further, huh?
picture, Lorraine, of where you're talking about. I
Yeah,
think I
'cause
might have sent it
gave
to you,
us
Cathy.
pictures.
Okay.
You
And
see
it has a class picture, Miss Bruce is in there, and
Yeah,
you can see the
okay.
buildings in the back.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Okay. Interesting enough, in 1877, East Berlin had a male teacher who was paid $15 an hour, or weekly, I'm sorry. The next year, a female teacher was hired for $9 a week. Yeah, of course.
Okay. Another school that we don't hear about too much was in East Berlin, called the School in the Woods. And it's at 1067 Mill Street, the building is still there, which is, it's right at the corner of Grove Street. The building was built around 1870 and it closed in 1907. So,
And we have a couple of school pictures. And then today, it's a private house.
right.
You hardly see it when you're driving there.
I-
There's no
Right.
Vegetation in the front.
Exactly, yeah. All right, yeah, we can skip through a
Yep.
lot of this stuff. So,
In 1899, next slide over, there was a vote to consolidate the districts. And then, of course, in 1903, they undid it. And then in 1905, they abolished the school districts again. And now they have one school board for the entire town, 9 members for 3-year terms. And in 1901, I think these are the schools that we had open at that point. In 1907, began the consolidated school movement. This was because it was felt that it was the most effective school management, it was more uniform education, and that too many grades in one classroom was not conducive to learning. And there was some jealousy going on between which district was better. Nothing we would know about today, of course. And so between 1907 and 1910, we actually have 3 schools built. Hubbard School, Worthington, well, it's not built, but Worthington School is opened, and Kensington Grammar School. We'll start with Hubbard School. It was built in 1907, and it was torn down in 1964.
and it was at the same site that the current Hubbard School is now.
And we have a couple of class shots. I like this one. It actually shows the front of the building there. And that was the only color picture I found of it, which is why I included it. Richard Hubbard, by the way, this is the only statue of a person on the Capitol grounds. George Sargent died in 1888, and in his will, he left money to erect a statue to Richard Hubbard. The next slide. He was born in 1818 in East Berlin. His father went bankrupt and died while he was young. His mother died when he was 15. And so he ended up in East Hartford, living with a family as assisting on a farm. He managed to go to Yale and graduated before he was 21 years old. And he died in 1884. And one reason he's remembered is because he was the Connecticut state governor in 1870, for the first one to have a 2-year term. He had a law degree and worked as a lawyer. He was elected to the House of Representatives for several years. And as I said, governor of Connecticut. Isabel Beecher Hooker was a friend of his and convinced him of the need to protect women's property rights. And so that was one of the big pieces of legislation that he passed. He also created the State Board of Health. He's known as a lawyer. He was well-read, scholarly, alert, solid, and a good orator. That he will be long remembered, said his friends. It's interesting that after he died, his friends got together and wrote a book about Richard Hubbard and their memories of him. And I think that's a nice testament to his character. And yeah, okay, Worthington. Oh my God. Where do we start with Worthington?
First of all, happy birthday to the Worthington Meeting House, because it's 250 years old. It was dedicated in February of 1775. And it has a long history. It started out as a church. as part of the Worthington Ecclesiastical Society from 1775 to around 1850. Then it became Berlin Town Hall, one of two Berlin Town Halls. At the time, there was one for Worthington and one for Kensington. And then when they combined town halls into one building, it became a school in 1907. It was a school until about 1957. It was a 4-room school, and then it housed the Board of Ed until around 1975.
When the town hall opened.
When the current town hall opened. So it's quite a building. We have wonderful plans for it.
Hold on.
Okay.
I don't know why. For some reason, I keep forgetting that it's actually named for a person.
Yep.
Colonel John Worthington.
Right.
He was born in Springfield, and he was again a Yale graduate, lawyer, high sheriff, and a Massachusetts state representative, along with Colonel Oliver Partridge, who was also a Massachusetts resident in Hatfield, also a Yale graduate. And Oliver Partridge's gravestone is interesting. It says, his usefulness in church and state was early known to men, blessed with an active life till late and happy in the end. I think that's kind of nice. And the third member of the commission was Eldad Taylor, born in Westfield, Massachusetts, Harvard graduate. He was first selectman and Massachusetts state rep. And it's interesting that the Connecticut State Assembly chose 3 Massachusetts men to form a committee to come up with the answer of the tension in our town. And that led to the division of Worthington Ecclesiastical Society and the Kensington Society, which became the Congregational Churches. And so in gratitude, apparently, the church was named for Worthington.
We gotta move along.
I know. We'll do what we do.
Isn't the bell on the tree?
No. I thought it was that there's
a
this,
school bell.
This is the school bell.
yeah, it was for the Worthington School.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
This
need
is
to
for
say,
the church.
Okay, no, it was the school bell. Yeah. So
We don't know what happened to the
the church bell.
church bell.
Okay. Alrighty.
correction noted.
Okay.
Next. Interestingly enough, in 1907, Mary Griswold was one of the teachers. And we have a class shot and another class shot, we got a lot of class
Yeah.
shots here.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll get to a chalkboard. I don't know if you remember when that was discovered. In 1977, workmen were working on the meeting house, and they've discovered a chalkboard that was written in 1907 by Mary Griswold. And it has a poem and a drawing to it. And I believe it still exists in the meeting house and is being preserved in many hopes. Next slide. Many, many hopes. I think that sums it up, doesn't it,
Yeah, I think so.
Lorraine?
Okay.
Percival School began first as the Kensington Town Hall, as Sallie said, between 1850 and 1907. And then it became a school until 1955. And it closed for KGS and then reopened by 1920. And some of the teachers and a couple of, we've got 5 pictures, I think, of classes. And today it's another house. James Gates Percival was, they say, the most educated person, most scholarly person that Berlin ever produced. There's a beautiful biography by Catherine Housley called Stonebreaker, which the library owns. If you haven't read it, it's well worth it. It's not that long. His childhood home was next across the street from the Kensington Congregational Church.
It's now mustard yellow, isn't it? Yeah.
By age 11, he was reading everything that Reverend Robbins had in his library, which was pretty extensive. At age 15, he went to Yale and graduated at the top of his class. While at Yale, he wrote books of poetry, but he didn't think the public appreciated his writing. He tried lots of different professions, law, medicine. He gave up when his patients died. Teaching at West Point. He went back to Yale, and whenever he had money, he bought books, often not eating. He could read fluently Latin, Greek, French, Spanish, German, Italian, Danish, Gaelic, Welsh, Norse, Swedish, Slavonic, Polish, and even Sanskrit. He assisted Noah Webster in his dictionary, often giving more information than Webster wanted. In 1835, he was appointed to do a geological survey of the state of Connecticut, and he walked every hill and valley. And I think there's a picture coming up. Next one, maybe? Yeah, that I think really kind of illustrates that time period of his life. It was supposed to be a 5-year project, but like everything else, it took a little longer to get done. But it's the first statewide geological survey, and his rock samples are still at Yale. In 1854, he was appointed Wisconsin geologist and went out to do a similar kind of study there, but he died in 1856. And years later, I think it's a couple decades later, his classmates from Yale got together and erected a monument in his honor. Eminent as a poet, accomplished as a linguist, learned and acute in science, a man without guile. And that's Percival and Percival School. KGS, another big one.
Okay, KGS was built in 1910. And they called it Berlin's Folly. Because a lot of people didn't like the idea of a consolidated school. They still wanted the corner school down the road, but this really was the wave of the future.
It had 8 rooms originally on 2 floors.
Right, and outdoor plumbing. It had electricity, but it didn't have outdoor plumbing until the high school was added on in the 1930s. Which is hard to believe, but the building was still used as a school up until 1975 when it closed.
When they opened up the dedication cornerstone there, they found reports, a list of all the students by school, district schools, a 1910 penny, and one of the people in the audience for this remembered bringing pennies to school for the dedication. Officially, if you go to the next slide, they closed 5 schools, but we think Stockings Corner was also closed at this time, and it's not in the official lists. So, but that's what we think. And it was noted, it was on the National Register of Historic Places for the Art Deco features of it.
These were in the new edition that was put up in the 30s when they added a high school. We still have the fountain, and I think, do we still have the?
Yep, we have all those pieces.
Yeah, so those are saved, and at some point we'll, when the meeting house gets renovated, we can display them. So we'd like to do that sooner rather than later. There was an addition that was put on in 1920 that was affectionately called Chicken Coop.
The next picture also shows it.
Yeah, and you can see the outhouses.
Yep.
That were there. In addition.
Next one. Yeah. There's another shot of it. You can almost see an outhouse.
Yes.
And then we have several pictures of classes.
And what purpose did the chicken coop?
It was.
It was more classrooms.
It was-
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there were 2 classrooms,
yeah,
sort of like a portable buildings
yeah.
today.
It's like another one of those cases where almost as soon as they built it, it was too small. And that happened a lot. And,
And then, of course, we all know that in 2014, St. Paul's Catholic Church had bought the property. It wasn't deemed safe or able to be renovated, and so they tore it down. And it was the end of an era. Many people have bricks from this.
a lot of people were sad when that went. So, but there is, the church has put up a gazebo, playing fields for the school children. And obviously extra parking, which was desperately needed. So,
They did use like the pillars that were
They
on
did
the
use-
staircase, they
Yeah.
could use those, but I wish they put like a little plaque that explains that. You know,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, there were lots of other schools. Miss Roy's Academy. This was oftentimes we know it more as Loveland's Tavern. And the next picture shows a group of students there. And then the house today.
it was, it's on the corner of Hudson.
And Worthington Ridge, right?
Maricourt opened, I believe, in 1926 to 1946.
I know it opened in 1945.
Okay. I forgotten the first name, but somebody Kingsbury opened it with a playground and
John Kingsbury.
John, thank you.
And his wife, they were, well,
Yes,
they were from here, but they had been Turkish missionaries.
Right.
And they came back and opened a school.
Uncle John Kingsbury.
Okay.
okay.
He used to take us kids for rides in his Pierce Arrow
Yeah.
with the Top Down. We go for rides in the country and he'd tell stories and it was
Oh,
just,
neat.
it was wonderful.
That's cool.
And the next shot shows a picture of some of the students in 1931. And this says the new school building. Does anyone recognize it?
That's the building that's kind of behind the main house.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I guess it's the church today, isn't it?
The church, the gymnasium was the church, is
Yeah.
Crossroads Church.
Was the gymnasium a brand new building alone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll see
Yeah.
that in the next slide, actually.
Oh, nice.
St. James School took over the facilities. They had apparently it was a boys' school and emphasized military service, and every boy was a Boy Scout member.
So was I.
A Boy Scout?
I was, I got a 1-year pin, but, when St. James owned it, I'm trying, 1955, they had horses that they brought from their New Hampshire camp.
Yeah.
I rode my horse to school most every day, except when the weather was bad. And, 1 year, I forget what the problem was, but I took my mother's horse instead of mine. And she was new with the other horses in the pasture.
Oh, no.
She broke the fence. All the horses went down Hudson Street.
That's
But
cool.
I want to tell you one thing that, it just didn't seem to have the right, time frame, but somewhere in here. The very first school bus in Berlin was housed at the Chkowski Farm on the Chamberlain Highway at the end of Southington Road, you know, that old junky house. There's a shed that has an addition on it that faces the Chamberlain Highway that was added to the shed to make it long enough for a school
For the
bus to
bus.
sit in.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
And unfortunately, First in 1962, a teacher committed suicide, and then later Leonard Francis, who was the owner, was guilty of excessive punishment and sexual abuse. And he died in New Hampshire.
They punished me.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I wondered.
Yeah.
The administration building was actually on Worthington Ridge.
Mhm. Okay.
Thank you. And then Moreland's, on a more positive note, Moreland School began in 1930 as first as a middle school, and then they added younger grades. And unfortunately, it closed quietly in 2019. It was named another school that you forget that it's named for a person. Obviously, it was Moore's land, and that would have been Ethelbert Moore and his family who would have owned the land, part of the whole Moore family that hopefully Sallie and I will have a chance to talk about in July when we come back. And the last final shot there. But of course, a new school sprang up, Prism Autism Academy, with, I believe, 20 students at this point. And then St. Paul's in 1958 started as a middle school again.
Started as a junior high.
Oh, junior high, not
Yeah,
middle
7 to
school.
7 to 9.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think in the 1980s, yeah, added additional classes so they were K through 8.
Right.
And we mentioned that Worthington Ridge had a number of private schools. The first one was the Berlin Academy. Emma Hart Willard did attend here, and then a couple of years later actually taught there, one of her first teaching jobs. And it was, they say it was the first in the state like this, and closed by the 1830s. Just in time for the next reincarnation down the street, the Worthington Academy. And sometimes people mix the two, you know, it's Worthington Ridge, Worthington Academy. The street was also known as Berlin Street. It was called Main Street. Keep up. The Worthington Academy was again a secondary school, closed in 1873. They had 125 students at one point. Tuition was $55, but if you wanted to take extra classes like classics, physics, etc., it could cost you a little bit more. And they drew students not just from the town and Connecticut, but even down south and so on. People came from all around to go to this school. And one of the cool things we found was this pamphlet in 1867 about the school and what they were offering and the students' names. And then an undated photo. And today the building is, I believe, the Berlin Free Library.
Does that say Alfred North? 2 slides back. No, Alfred.
John North.
Frederick Norton, John A. North.
Okay.
No problem. Familiar last names. And this one, Sallie and I have been trying to figure out. In 1855, the map shows the schools might be this location.
This is on Sunset Lane.
And then we got a pamphlet of the Worthington School. Not Worthington Academy, not Berlin Academy. This is about the turn of the century from what we can figure out, because the trustees are people like Frank Wilcox and Charles Jarvis and Willis Upson, Catherine Brannigy, all people that would have been alive late 1800s, early 1900s. And the picture to us looks like the picture on Sunset Lane. So we're not quite sure.
If somebody wants to go back in time and tell us, we like that.
All right. Interesting enough, in 1911, 43 people attended New Britain High from town, 9 at Middletown, and 2 at Meriden. And it's kind of neat to see because all 3 of these buildings were relatively built about that time period. KGS, the Jeannie Hooker Annex was added in 1933. And as you know, each year they added a grade until they got the first graduating class of 1936. And it's the first time that we have a high school here in town. And it's because of Mary Griswold and Jeannie Hooker. The addition for the school was named in Jean Hooker's honor. Sallie likes to tell us it's the first time the school had indoor plumbing. Jean Hooker was a nurse. She married Henry Hooker, who was a descendant of Reverend Thomas Hooker, of course, of Hartford. Besides being a nurse, she was on the Board of Ed during this critical time period. Her headstone, by the way, reads Jean E. Hooker, RN. So she must have been really proud of that. The next slide is the first graduating class. And then in 1953, the decision was made to build a new school. It was there were 25 teachers, and it was built for a capacity of 530 students. And I found a picture of the groundbreaking even. And the next page is the dedication booklet, which shows a picture of it in reality there, and the floor plan. But as Sallie said, the school was too small almost immediately, and in 1959 was the first edition. They added 16 rooms, including science labs, and now the capacity was supposed to be 878 students. And then in 1976, we had another edition, the media center. This is when I moved to town, and the cost overruns and Berlin Concerned Taxpayers, was that it? Was very active, and now the capacity was supposed to be 1,100 students. And more recently, new security and entry additions, and they renovated some of the classrooms as well, I believe.
They're all, like I was up the old building and now I was downstairs under the gym.
Yeah.
I could hear them when they bounced the ball. So the whole school flipped. Most of the
Yes.
academics went down and then other classrooms went back
Yeah.
upstairs. It was interesting when how
Yes.
they figured it out.
1950, the list of schools from what I could figure. And in 1953, we begin to get kindergarten. First private at the Murray Heights Police Station.
What was the,
And another classroom picture. Oh, this is the KGS kindergarten.
I see you, Lorraine.
Willard School and what was the other one?
Percival. yeah.
Okay. Willard School and Percival were added this same year, almost the same weekend, 1956. Kindergarten to 6th grade, 390 student capacity, and 2 years later, next year, they had to make an addition on it.
Right.
And then in 1992, they did a second edition and added air conditioning and all kinds of things. Emma Hart Willard was a prominent educator and advocate for education of women. She opened the first higher ed school for women in Troy, New York. Her most quoted poem is called Bride Stealing in New England, about a relative of hers. There are lots of biographies, but nothing written recently. She was born on Lower Lane, but not the house everyone thinks. If you looked at the sign, it said the well used by the Emma Hart Willard family. And that house was torn down recently and rebuilt and looks fabulous.
But the house that Emma was born in, I think was demolished around 1840.
Yeah.
So,
And it was just down the street because they used the well there. She was a part of a large family. She was the 16th of 17 children. Her father was very well educated and encouraged his children to read and to learn,
even the girls.
probably especially the girls. Higher education in those times, we have no idea how rigorous it was. It was classics, it was Latin, it was higher math and physics and things that we think of as specialties now, but this was what you needed to graduate. She saw the need for better textbooks, and so she and her sister wrote textbooks that are still available. We think of her as being our little nugget of honor, but in fact, she's one of the most distinguished women, pioneer of women's higher education. She was one of the first people inducted in the Women's Hall of Fame, considered one of the 100 greatest American women. An odd thing, 1943, there was a Liberty World War II ship named in her honor. And lots of colleges have buildings in her honor. There's a rare college that doesn't have a dorm or a classroom named Willard. And then, oh yeah, and her statue at Troy, New York. All right. Percival. Well, we closed Percival, and in, I think, 1 year or so, they opened up the new Percival School. Again, K through 6, 240 student capacity at the cost of $356,000
And it was too small
immediately,
immediately.
and also had an addition made
Yeah.
the next year.
I started fourth grade there. That lasted about 3 weeks because we had 45 kids in our class. And the teacher walked in. I've told this story a million times. The teacher walked in, did a quick sweep around, turned around, dragged the principal down, and basically said, "I can't do this." So a bunch of us ended up back at KGS, which, okay, been there, done that before, so.
I wonder why they underestimated.
I
You
think,
would think they know how many kids were.
Well, no, because there were so many houses being.
there were so much, I think the whole Crater Lane as Ellsworth Boulevard was built right at that time, and I can't even think about how many kids just in that one development,
I remember when I started the year Willard opened in 3rd grade.
right,
There were
Same thing.
there were at least 2 3rd grades, and
Yeah.
each one had 40 kids in it.
yeah.
But I don't remember it being a problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think lots of times we had, 40 some odd kids in a class. I mean, we were the baby boom generation.
Yeah.
And it just, Joanne, you were in my first grade class, weren't you, Mrs. Tosca?
No,
No, okay,
no, I had,
Mrs. Humphries?
yes.
Okay, all right. Because I'm thinking we had like 40 some odd kids in first grade. And how do you teach 40 kids how to read? One teacher, no teacher's aide. God bless him.
Yeah.
And this is not unusual. I grew up in Farmington, and during, I think, my 3rd year of school, they opened up 2 new schools, elementary schools as well. So, I mean, this was just a whole region-wide thing. Again, we think of it as just unique to this town, and it wasn't.
Right.
Every town was struggling. And of course, we know that the school was closed and is now the senior center. And then we come to the second Hubbard School at the same exact building location as the first Hubbard School. They did it in 1 year, which I think is amazing.
So what did they do, like if they tore down the school and
Yep.
built, where did the kids go?
Um,
What's
Willard.
happening?
they went to Willard for 1 year.
I don't know how they did it, but
There were 12 classrooms, capacity of 430, cost 430,000. And it wasn't until 1993 that they added on to that building. Griswold School was again 1964, and their addition was 1992. We have the contents of their cornerstone. I'm not sure why it was opened up, but a Kennedy $50, a tape recording of What My Country Means to Me, a Lyndon Johnson hat, which I'm not sure what that was.
probably the election.
Could be a model of the Gemini capsule, list of the pupils, a poem in tribute of Mary Griswold, a list of the teachers, a map of the town, and what one class liked and disliked. Mary Griswold was actually born in New York. And her parents moved to Talcotville, where her father worked in a general store. And then they moved to New Britain, and he worked in a different general store. And when she was 14 years old, they moved to a brand new house on Worthington Ridge to a poultry farm. She graduated from 1898 from New Britain High and 1902 from Normal School, which of course is Central Connecticut today.
Excuse me. I was born on Court Street in New Britain,
Yeah,
and what we called the normal school was that big, it was like a haunted building. But was that the beginning of Central?
yeah,
I believe
Yeah.
so, yeah.
yes,
So, but that was the school.
yes.
You know, and became the Board of Ed at one time.
Oh,
She worked, her first job was in Old Saybrook, and then she came to Worthington School. And as I said, the blackboard they found. She became school superintendent here in town in 1923. She added a 9th grade to KGS, added music and art, supported the visiting nurse program as she wanted to help her pupils. She saw the building of the second Blue Hills School and pushed the need for the high school, and finally in 1933 that became a reality. She retired, but then served at Selden School, supposedly for a substitute for a few months, and then Hubbard for a year, back to Selden as a principal and teacher, and finally did retire at the end of the 1930s. She realized that children needed time to play, but also believed that the classroom was a place for learning and not for fooling around. The gymnasium at Willard School was named in her honor. And then, of course, the elementary school. She never ceased to be keenly interested in the development of the schools. And at her heart, she was always a teacher. She never saw the new school, by the way, because she was blind by that time. But she was pleased that despite the difficult times in the 1920s, and that many people had opposed her efforts, that a school was named in her honor. And she died in 1970. And McGee. I wanted to ask, does anyone remember Mary Griswold?
oh, no,
Oh, okay.
I thought you were gonna say McGee.
That's what I was going to say next was McGee. Does anyone remember Catherine McGee?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of you do. Okay. The school itself was built in 1969 with an addition in 1994. By the way, we of us in the library realized that between the town hall and the uproar about the Berlin High School expansion 1976, it wasn't until 1989 that we finally got this wonderful building, thanks to Blanche Delaney. And this building cost just under $5 million. We were so fortunate because the next year, all the schools came in for additions and expansions, at multi-million dollars. I remember one of them was $8 million. So the library seemed cheap at that point, and we got in just before the schools put in their requests. So we were very fortunate. Unfortunately, the community center didn't have that kind of luck. But editorial comment, never mind. Catherine McGee was a town girl. She grew up in town, born 1901. She never married. She attended pond school, but she always knew she wanted to be a teacher. Her 1922 yearbook from New Britain High School says she was one of the most amiable girls in her class, a cheery friend in word and deed. She taught for 45 years, was Worthington School principal and KGS school principal, a member of St. Paul's Church, the first president of the Senior Center, Senior Citizens Club or whatever. She was regarded as a powerful influence for good in this town, taught hundreds of Berlin children, a good teacher and a strict disciplinarian. Throughout, continued to learn fresh approaches to teaching and recognized for her love of children, unyielding dedication to education, and her ability to lead and inspire. She died in 1982. And I think, thank you. We just got over the hour. We did it. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I really, really do appreciate. I hope you had fun with this and learned something. And we're repeating it on June 24th at 1 o'clock at the Senior Center, if you know of anyone or if you want to enjoy it again. In July, we're hoping to do the Moore family, Marjorie Moore, Nelson Augustus Moore, and other Moore family members. And August, we're hoping to do the history of the fire departments here in town. So a lot of interesting things, I think, coming up. And I hope you'll be part of it. And thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. And there's plenty of refreshments and they won't throw us out for 20 minutes. So we have time. Oh, I will.